Ladies and gentlemen, Brandy J's podcast, A Voice to be Reckoned With, would like to thank you for making the right choice in choosing a podcast that moves a nation. And now, here she is in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everyone, thank you for joining me, your host, Brandy J, A Voice to be Reckoned With. I have a special guest today. Goes by the name of Michael Glenn Moore. Yes, the host of podcast City Like Yours. So please give him a listening ear. Thanks. Hey everybody, you're here with me, Brandy Joy, A Voice to be Reckoned With, Season 3. Today I am here with a very special guest by the name of Michael Glenn Moore. Michael, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, so happy to have you back here with me.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really looking forward to this.
Me too. I think we both probably been through some, had some changes and stuff since the last time too. So this should be interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Michael, can you let our listeners know what's going on with you and what's your your show, City Like Your.
Yeah, sure. I'm a host, the host of In a City Like Yours. It's a true storytelling podcast where I ask my guests to come on and relate a story that has changed their lives in some significant way. That's either good or bad, but what I'm looking for are guests who have interesting stories, and the stories relate to how they came to where they are today, how they grew, from whatever happened in their lives. I also just started a new podcast with my friend Scott H. Silverman called Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour. Scott's an expert in addiction and recovery. So the podcast is an education type of podcast about addiction and recovery, where we discuss aspects of addiction and recovery.
Wow, that's awesome. Scott's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, have you talked with him?
Yeah, when I first started out, I did a show with him, and then I was pursuing, to work, since we both San Diego, work with him and the safe homes, with the getting the the medicines and stuff safely out of the homes and all stuff, and out of the hands of of youth and stuff, and the removal bags and everything. So I was trying to work on that, and which I still, I had actually, reached out to him the other day and told him that, that I still was in it, and that I want to still, do my part and do what I can. It's just life shows up, and I wasn't getting the results I wanted to get, and it was trying to hold down my show and everything, and it kind of lost sight. And he just popped in my head the other day, and I said, Scott, I got to get back. You know what I mean? Because he's doing great things, and what he's focusing on affects all of us, especially if you have family, you have kids, it's
Yeah, there's a lot of medications that are just sitting in people's medication cabinets, and part of the program is to get, as a way to dispose of that in a way that's safe.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of cities, they have the sheriff office or the police office will hold these monthly drop-offs for you to take your medications, but there are a lot of cities that don't have that, and his nonprofit pretty much reaches out to those cities that need to start something that's if they don't have it in the law enforcement in their area.
Yeah, for sure. Now, did he come across a lot of cities that didn't have them? Because I know, I was working from my end here, not that far from my house, because my sister, she works at a pharmacy and stuff, and so the place I was calling, they were saying yeah, we have them, and people, but I was but do people know about them? They know you're there, you tell them that, but do you educate, you make it an ongoing, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me look for a second here, and I'll give you the email. The post to his website. Hold on. Go ahead and talk while I'm looking.
Okay. Is it the Safe Homes? That one, the Safe Homes
Yeah,
Coalition?
yeah. Do you have that
Yeah.
website?
Yeah, I have that one. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I hadn't talked to him about it, lately. So I was wondering if was there like quite a few states that didn't actually have them, because that's kind of that's a big deal,
Yeah.
If you don't have them, it's one thing you don't have them, and then there's another thing like when you have them and people still don't know. Like I was trying to like drive the desire out of them of educating versus yes, we have them and we tell them about it.
Yeah.
Versus like, do you really tell them about it? Like how important it is to remove it properly. So yeah.
Well, we recorded today and talked about vaping, which is has become a pretty dangerous subject now.
Yeah.
It's kind of taken the back burner now since the coronavirus is so popular and people are discussing that. But so we went ahead and did an episode on vaping, which talked about what to expect. I mean, if you think you may be having a reaction, and also the dangers of vaping and the ways that you could get off of vaping products safely. If you're smoking nicotine or if you're smoking marijuana. And something he brought up that was very interesting is that the marijuana can be made by third-party individuals, not made by the government or FDA approved part of the government.
Mm-hmm.
And the individuals who make this product, they use different chemicals to get the THC out of the physical plant, and a lot of times it's formaldehyde or other carcinogenic chemicals that they use that it's in that vaping liquid. So it's very dangerous. And also he said that sometimes they use fentanyl or cofentanyl as well, which is deadly if it's taken in overdose. And that's something that's really bad, like in the United States is the epidemic of opioids and people dying from opioid overdose. So it's really scary. You have to make sure that you know what you're getting when you're doing something like that.
Yeah, you can't like just go slide. Like if it's like it's legal now, so but you got to make sure that you do it that way. You know what I mean?
You get it from the dispensaries and not from someone's trunk.
Yeah, or like I found here in San Diego. Now that you say this, and it's because it has me wondering like what's the missing piece if it's legal now. So we have these shops that open. They have a full on shop, and they sometimes they're shut down. And I remember one time it was just like this one area where it seemed like that's where people were speaking of, and then next thing you know, they were shut down. And then I was talking to a friend, I was like, is there shut down? Like, but I thought this, it was legal now. So like, what could they have been missing? And then we're sitting here like, well, maybe they didn't get the licensing or something like that. But then how would they even get the okay to get all this stuff, And then you said what you said about how with the vaping, and people, putting their own and not getting it from getting the proper places. Maybe that could be one of the reasons for being shut down.
Yeah, that could be.
You're not even supposed to be selling it because you don't even have and if you have the license and then you're not selling the correct stuff, then that's kind of like shooting yourself in the foot if you just ruined the business that you had, and now that's something illegal. So
yeah, the bottom line is that you really need to know what's in your products and go with a source that's trusted and not with someone who is maybe black market medications.
Right. Especially now, if it's legal, you think that you would do it that way, but if people want, they want. I'm definitely going to check that one out, and I want to make sure I post it so people can to listen to that, because I know a lot of people that they chose vaping over, wherever choice that, when it comes to the marijuana. And then with the nicotine, people thought that, and that's how they kind of put it out there, like that vaping would be less dangerous, right? But it turns out to be way more dangerous.
Yeah, in the beginning, vaping was an alternative to smoking cigarettes in a way. I know I had a lot of friends who quit smoking cigarettes and smoked vaping products, and you could lower the nicotine level gradually, and they quit smoking altogether by doing that. Something's changed since then, and I think, as far as people destroying their lungs, we talk about there was a boy who had a double lung transplant after he smoked vaping products. and they just destroyed his lungs, and he had an emergency lung transplant. And now he's on medications for the rest of his life, so that he won't reject the organs and other medications. So I mean, it's really has changed his life. This is a very young man. I think he was like 17.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's scary. That episode will be released on the February 19th. I'm not sure when this show is coming out, but you can go back to the archives in Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour, which is on all popular podcast platforms.
Actually, he sends it to my feed, so actually I could, he'll like, you know how you send your shows out into Messenger, and also, so I think that I do have a few of them that I haven't, it's quite a few of them.
Yeah, we're new. We've only done 2 before, so this is the vaping episode is the 3rd. But we're producing every Wednesday for the first 3 months of the first 3 weeks of the month. So there's 3 episodes a month, and they're released on Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the first 3 Wednesdays of the month.
Definitely, I'll go in there and I'll check that out. I just know I seen Scott Silverman the Happy Hour, and I went in there and started, just look. Whenever I see something I kind of get all over the place when I see anything that Scott has going on,
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
Very, very, I told him I had a little surprise for him. I'll share with you later what it is. I don't, to put it on the airwaves and then everybody else finds out. Okay. I'll tell you later. Yeah, it's pretty cool. But this is quite fascinating here, because you have nicotine, right? That's been killing people for years, and then you do all this smoking for years and years, and some do get cancer, some don't. But then this new thing hits the scene, vaping, and it seems to be taking its toll a little bit quicker than nicotine, like regular nicotine.
Yeah, and that's they're not quite sure what is in the nicotine vaping products that's causing these episodes with damaged lungs and so forth. They think it may be a vitamin E product that's in there. It could be formaldehyde. They just don't know yet for sure what's causing it.
Wow. But most definitely this needs to be something that needs to be.
And that was, the companies that made, I think Philip Morris was the company who makes Juul, and they targeted that product to kids with candied flavored products of the vaping oil, and that's specifically trying to get kids to come on board and start smoking their product. So that's another scary thing, is that the children are being affected, and
that was a thing for me too when they made marijuana, they legalized it. The whole part that I just wasn't okay with was when they turned everything into everything. It was in everything: cookies, cupcakes, soda, your candy. You know what I mean? And I just found, like, what for what though? You know what I mean? Like, why? Just keep it simple. It's gonna do the same thing. And now what you've done is you made it look really appealing to children. Or I had so many different scenarios. I had to tell my son, I said, just don't take anything from anybody. You know what I mean? Because you just don't know. Cause
you don't know if that gummy bear or that gummy worm or whatever has marijuana in it.
Exactly. And that kid that's giving it to you might not know, or they might know, and say, I used to give this to him, So that's what really made me uncomfortable. So I just,
Well, it's not legal here in Louisiana. That's where I am, and it's not legal. We just now, we actually approved medical marijuana many years ago, but there was never went through the Senate and all that about how to distribute. And so just recently they've gone to actual having distribution centers in Louisiana that distribute the medical marijuana. Now that's highly regulated. I don't think it's as loose as it is in California where you are. It's because it's been around for a long time in California, and now it's been made legal across the board so that you could have it without having it. If you, I don't know, whatever your sources are, hopefully they're a dispensary. But, if you're caught with marijuana in California, it's not a crime any longer. Here, it's still a crime unless you have the medical marijuana cards on you. So what they're thinking about now is the federal government legalizing marijuana across the board. And when that happens, I just hope that we're ready for something that large in the whole, for the whole United States.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. So many layers to the, to this. It's like, yeah. Because, some people would sit back and say, I have people say like, well, what's the big deal? This whole marijuana thing, they've been selling us poison, like, alcohol and cigarettes, and all of a sudden marijuana is a big deal. And I'm like, true. This is true. But I think it's more of our thinking versus that, like, will we make smart, healthy choice? You know what I mean? Like choices, I guess it's all about how one person, already you see people are being affected or dying because somebody has taken it and carelessly have done whatever they've done to make money and profit. And there's been someone that bought it instead of going to the right place.
Yeah, it's the thing is with marijuana, it's stronger than it used to be. Back when I was a kid, it wasn't nearly as strong as it is today. So the kids are being exposed to really high levels of THC, and they just don't know what the harm is for developing minds. We're not fully developed till we get into our mid-20s. And then after the mid-20s, we're pretty much have grown. But so you're looking at kids as young as 13, 12, 13, 14s getting on marijuana. And so we just don't know what that does to their brain and their development. So it's something to think about. And, I'm sure it's, I guess I don't know how it works in California. There must be a starting age that you could buy these products.
Yeah, I think it's still the same.
Like alcohol.
I think it's the same. That the age limits are still the same. I'm going to assume for marijuana is 18, but I'm not really sure. But I think, actually, you know what, it is. So I remember, someone saying, "Oh, I'm 18. I can now go." I think it was 18 or 21, but I'm going to go with 18.
Well, there's states like California, which have done this for a while, that will probably have more information about what happens to a younger mind on marijuana because it's been around longer and people have been studying it longer in these cities and states that have legalized marijuana. So by the time that it's maybe federally approved, we'll know a little bit more about it and how these mega strengths of and potency of marijuana are affecting people's development.
Yeah, sure. Oh man, like people know how to ruin stuff all the time. Just
yeah, well, when you only have half the information, that's not good.
Yeah, it's not. And then the maker, the people they don't come up with the stuff. They don't really put it out there like that, to let people know because they don't really want you to know.
Well, they say no one's ever died from marijuana overdose, and that's that may be true. That doesn't mean that there's not a damage that can be done. Yeah,
very true.
And they also said that it possibly has some effect on your heart, so it could be causing people to have heart problems. I don't know if that's later on or for heavy use or what, but it's it's one of the newest studies that have come out talking about how marijuana can increase your heart rate and things like that. So it's mentally and physically could be damaging to you.
Yeah, because people are using it for because we don't know what it probably was meant for or how it wasn't meant to be used, and then you take that and you mix it with a person. Not everything like with medication. Everybody, the doctors give you. Medication has to go with your age, your size. They do all these things to check you out first before they prescribe your medication. So that it doesn't affect you in a. That's like the whole thing too on Safe Homes about the younger kids saying that they would be okay with taking another student's medication for pain or something like that, and that's not okay because that pain medication was for them. The doctor prescribed it to that person, and it might affect you differently. Just like that. You don't really know how it may affect one person versus the other.
Yeah, it's just it's something that needs to be studied more. I think it hasn't been legal for very long, so and I know that it wasn't possible for a lot of researchers to do the research on it because they couldn't get the the marijuana legally to do their research. So that hasn't been happening until recently as well. So I'm sure we'll see a lot more studies come out dealing with marijuana and the harm of marijuana that we're just not aware of.
Yeah. I know I had read this article. I think that, what's his name? Donald Trump. Yeah, I think he had supposedly signed off on it or something. But where these people were terminally, like, they were elderly people that were dealing with certain pain, and when they got the CBD, I guess it was the CBD or something like that, and I guess that was helping them deal with all the pains that they were having.
Yeah, the CBD or cannabidiol is a product that is does not have the agent in marijuana that gets you high. So it's something that you could take that, they say it's safe. And I'm not even sure if there have been enough studies on that to definitively say that it's safe. But it is something that does relieve pain in a lot of chronic pain sufferers. And it does, I think, in muscular dystrophy patients have been known to use marijuana for relief from the symptoms of their illness. So the thinking is that because it doesn't get you high, it's better. So that's not really proven yet.
Yeah.
So hopefully soon we'll get some studies that say definitively one way or the other.
Yeah, pretty much. And I mean, it just looks as if, like, as usual, it's probably going to have to be something that's going to have to be more controlled if things go, can't give people too much, leeway, because then look what happens.
Yeah, it's, I don't think we should leave it in the hands of the drug companies or the cigarette companies, to tell us that it's safe or not. It needs to be done by independent study, in a way that is trusted, and and that way we know that it's coming from experts and not just somebody who owns or a CEO of a drug company saying our product is safe. They can say that to the blue in the face. If they can't prove it with some type of research, then it's, it means nothing.
Right. Exactly. Wow. Well, thanks for sharing that tidbit right there. I'm definitely going to keep following that with you guys, because I know a lot of people that thought that was the better way, and it's like, to this day they probably still don't know. So definitely. So what's going on with your show? Can you let the listeners know?
I've just released my 33rd episode of In a City Like Yours.
All
and
right.
I'm really happy. I'm on my 1-year anniversary this month in February. I started it back in February of 2019, and now it's 2020, so we're at our yearly anniversary, and I have a giveaway that I'm sponsoring where I ask people to rate me on Apple iTunes, and if you do that and let me know the name that you use to rate me, I'll put you in the hat and draw for a coffee cup, a t-shirt, and a hoodie. So if you're out there and listening, that's always a good way to support a podcast, is to go to maybe Apple iTunes or whatever format you listen to your podcast on, and rate the podcast. It really helps the host out. So I know, like with you, Brandy, with your show, that people, you probably encourage people to go to Apple iTunes as well. It's probably the biggest, so everybody says Apple iTunes, and rate and review the show, because after you get to a certain number of ratings on Apple Apple Podcast, you get into their algorithm so that your podcast is able to be searched for easily. It comes up in when someone searches education, and you get all the education shows, but those shows are all shows that have at least 50 ratings in it on their show. So if you're at 37 ratings, you're not going to show up in that search when someone is looking for something on education. If you only have 30 people who've rated your podcast, you're not going to hit that mark. You're not going to be in that search.
Yeah.
So
you have to literally put it in. So I think, right? You have to actually type yourself in for instead of,
right. In order to find it, you would have to type in the name rather than find it in a search. So and it's a lot easier if it's in the search, because people don't know the title of your show maybe. So they can't just
Exactly.
type it in to get to it. So, they may look up for, say, well, I want a podcast about education. What's out there for me? Type in education, and all the podcasts that deal with something in education will pop up. But not yours if you're not in that 50 mark or higher of it having ratings to your show. So that's a good way to help out your podcast that you love, is to go on Apple and rate or review your favorite shows.
Yes, and I will speak of that more too when we're done with the show and it's being played. I'll make sure that I also, I like to do like little refreshers and ads, updates and stuff. And I like listeners to remind them about the show, and if they're interested in winning a prize, what to do to help you out.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so excited for your anniversary and stuff. So I'm gonna have to do something special for you over the waves.
Yeah. Well, I think being on your show is it for me. It's nice to be here and have you ask me questions. So, I'm really excited about being here, and I hope that shows.
Yeah. Yes, but I have to say I'm not your first anymore though, right?
No, I was interviewed by Joe. I can't pronounce his last name. I think it's Pensione.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a podcast as well, and I can't think of the title right now. I'm sorry, Joe. I would love to plug your episode, but I cannot remember the title. But anyway, so yeah, I did an interview with you, and I did an interview with him, and now I'm back with you again. So you're actually my third go around of having an interview, because I've interviewed a lot of people. I've got 33 episodes, and a lot of the episodes are double episodes, so there are 2 people per episode in a lot of them. So I've probably interviewed maybe 50 individuals now. So I've got that. I've kind of hit my stride with my show and the interview process that I like. I don't talk a lot on my show in a city like yours. I'll let my guests tell their story, and then I'll react to their story. So, what you'll find when you listen to my show is that you don't hear a lot from me. And also, I try to edit myself out if possible in post-production. If I ask a question and they start answering it, and I can tell that, well, you don't really have to hear my question to make sense, with them answering how they did. So I'll just cut my complete question out and just go with what they're talking about. So it's a lot of people appreciate that, because a lot of times, not with you, but a lot of times with podcast hosts, they're pretty much like to hear themselves talk, and so and that's not something that I'm accustomed to. I don't like to do a lot of talking. Although I'm motor mouth here today because we want to make it interesting as possible. But on my show, I'm pretty much quiet most of the time until coming up later in the podcast, I'll start asking questions relating to what my guest is talking about. Yeah,
and that's cool. Because everybody has like their niche and their different thing with their show. And I had a guest on earlier. He's just like a cast. I was working on it. It should be out by tonight. And he just like casts right now. I came across him in a place called Spoon or something. I just I'm always like checking out different, places or different hosting sites or whatever. And I go in and he's just talking. I'm like, oh man, you got to come on my show. I kind of freaked him out a little bit because he's like, thought I was like, who are you and why you want me to go on your show so bad? And I had told him, I was like, you just have this thing about you. I said, I have a show called A Voice to Be Reckoned With. And I said, I just was drawn to you. I said, you have this energy. You sound like you have something to say. You know what I mean? You have something to stand on. And he still freaked out a little bit. He's an older guy because he's like, nobody's ever approached him like that before. And I was like, okay. And I just kept telling him, like, okay, just listen to my show and you'll get it. And so then I noticed like a few days later, or maybe a day later, I hear him more posting more inside of his his room, whatever. And he's like, every time I kind of tune in, he's intense, and he's like, just like, just using his voice and his passion and stuff. And on my show, he asked me something about that, and I told him I saw that something triggered in you, like you were like, because he was like, oh, I don't do that podcast. I'm more, I do this because this and that. And I saw something change within him. So when he was on today, and I just told him relax, he was like kind of nervous. I said, you do what you do when when you're even in your, your spoon, whatever you do, just be yourself. I said, just go with the flow. And so it worked out, and I could see from when the show started, kind of the nerves, until when he felt okay, like he was okay, you know, like how me and you're talking now, it's just real smooth. I don't even like calling them interviews for me, because it's like I kind of vision like you're in my living room on my couch, and then now nice flow of a conversation has started, and now we're into something here. We're talking about, you know, it's really like intense, you know what I mean, or topics.
Yeah,
that
kind of like the fireside chat that used to be popular. So it's more of a give and take rather than, you know, and a lot of interview processes are not extreme. You know, a lot of people are really good at doing the interviews and getting their guests to talk and open up and, you know, say as much as possible. And so I don't want to say the interview-based podcasts are not good. That's not the case. But I think, you know, with your podcast and with my podcast that I do, Inner City Like Yours, we're pretty much focused on the guest and what they have to say. So as much as we can get them to talk and open up, the better.
Exactly. That's what I was telling him too. I said, I want you to say what you need to say. You know what I mean? He was like, what do I say? I said, I'll just follow my lead. You know, I didn't want to like take over. You know what I mean? It was my show. I really didn't want to like take over. So I'm so used to like putting something out there to where the person, you know, kind of just takes it from there and they just roll with it. You know, ask the right thing or just say the right thing and get that out of them. And so I noticed that after a minute or two, I was like, I really want to say something now. So it wasn't that many times I felt that way, but I just saw he was like really into it, and that's what I liked that, because he didn't really realize what he had going right now. I haven't aired it yet, but there's a lot of, you know, I'm on a lot of major platforms, and so many people are going to be listening, and I want you to realize this is your opportunity to just say what you want to say and embrace it and take it from there. I think he's really digging it. I might have recruited a podcaster.
Oh, good.
So yeah, it was an experience, and he was very grateful to me. But I told him I was grateful to him. I was like, to me, when you were willing to come on and share yourself, you know, I was very, you know, he said yeah. So hey, so I'm happy to air that one, and I'll send it into your so you know that's the. So when you listen to it, you'll be like, okay, that's the guy she was telling me about.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brandy J, a voice to be reckoned with. And if you didn't know already, Anchor is definitely a place that you want to go to record a podcast. No minimum listenership. It's free, guys. I mean, they give you these creation tools that are so easy to use to put together an amazing show like mine, a voice to be reckoned with. And I'm on season 3. Okay, you can distribute your podcast to places like Google Cast, Spotify, so much more. And did I already say minimum listenership? I mean, you can record and people can find you in your audio library and listen to you whenever they want, wherever they want. You can record on your phone, in your car, in your bathroom, in your room. Doesn't matter. Your voice can be heard. Your voice can be a voice to be reckoned with. Also, so please go now. Go to Google Play or Anchor.fm. Please, don't miss out. Go now. Join Anchor.
Yeah, you send me your episodes when you release them. I like that. They come in my DMs on Facebook, and I go back and listen to your show, and it really, you know, I've enjoyed it so far.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I got to get into more. I get into like yours and like everybody, and I know you've probably been in this position before too, where you have so many. You want to do so many things, like work on your show, and then listen to this person and everybody's, and you know what I mean? It's like you spread yourself kind of thin, and you're like, oh, because you know, I get it sometimes because I don't get offended when people say, oh, I didn't listen to it yet. Or in the beginning, I was like, why not? Don't take you a few minutes. Put that sucker on and go, you know. But I get it sometimes too, because like, you know, you're going to get to it, and then you have so many other. You make these friends and these connections in all these shows, and you know, you can't, you know, listen to them as much as you would want them to know that you could, you know.
Yeah.
But you listen, you know what I mean? But it's like, I want to listen to it so much more, but I have to do this, I do that. So,
I know that a lot of people like shorter podcasts. Our Happy Hour, Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour is a shorter podcast than In a City Like Yours. In a City Like Yours, I kind of aim towards an hour-long episode. But they say that the sweet spot in episodes for podcasts is 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That's because a lot of people listen to them on their way to work in their car. And so they only want to focus on something that they can finish before they get to work. And if you're go on for an hour, not many people have an hour commute. Some do, I'm sure. But, majority of the people, it's from 20 to 30 minutes. So the Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour podcast, we tried to aim for that 20 to 30 minute window. The first episode was an hour long, and then after that we did one for 20 minutes, and the one we just did on THC and vaping, it was 16 minutes. So it was a little bit shorter than our window that we shoot for, but that's what we're trying to do, is to make sure that it's in a manageable level.
Yeah, and those are always cool too, the ones that are just for like 15, 20. I've had a few. It all depends on the message and what, what I mean, what it entails, whatever. But I think they all work out for their,
Yeah, it depends on what the podcast is about. If it's an interview with somebody, you may want to get it into more depth. And so it may run longer than that 20 to 30 minute window. With me and Scott for Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour, it's just me and him talking, and I ask the questions and he answers them in his expert way. So we can cover a subject in 15 or 20 minutes if it needs to be that short. Or if it doesn't really cause for anything longer. We don't really pad it with, chit chat or anything. It's all facts, questions and facts. So that's what we're trying to stick to.
Definitely. Well, that's it's always a pleasure to always have fellow podcasters that have a message. Everybody has something to say and to give and to offer.
Yeah, I had to go to a school. They called it School Away from School, and it was the school where the young girls who were pregnant went to, so they wouldn't disrupt the regular school with their pregnancy, and also people who fought a lot and were suspended, and then people who were bullied. So we were all segregated, so that it didn't follow us when we went to that school, but it was a way for us to go ahead and get our diploma without having to get a GED. So that's where I went for the last 2 years of my high school years, was at this place called School Away from School. And I went there because I was bullied, and I was trying to get away from people who were bullying me, and it was a godsend for me. I was in Close Up, which is a program, I don't know if they have it anymore, where they take a group of kids to Washington, D.C. to see how the government works. So I was able to do that. I took a trip to Washington, D.C. with people from that school, and we were representing the School Away from School. Other high schools would take their group as well, and so there's a lot of kids our age in Washington at the same time at our hotel, and it was just very interesting. And I was so happy that I was able to have that opportunity to travel.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I don't think we really have anything like that here, which is a whole nother avenue that kind of pops in my head here and there. Or is a safe place where the schools don't want to do it where kids can go, when they basically have a school that doesn't really crack down on bullying or just too much, and we don't have that. I know that we have something kind of like when I was younger, where girls, when they were pregnant, young age and stuff. As far as this here, the bullying, nothing that I know of.
Yeah, it was nice to have, because it was a way for you to go ahead and finish your education without dropping out completely. So it gave a lot of people a way for them to continue, especially the girls who were pregnant and people who maybe fought a lot at their school, even though they may have been the instigator of these fights, but still they were able to finish their education, so that they can get their diploma and not just a GED. I don't think a GED is bad. I think that a lot of people can use that route to go if they have to get out of school, to get away from the bullying, get their GED, graduate with their GED, and go on to college or go on to working. And once you go on to college and once you go to work, a lot of the times the bullying stops. You don't deal with that anymore. You don't see those people, and you may never see those people again in your life. It's once you get away from the school that you were in. So it's important that kids know that there is a better way, there is a solution, and that they do not have to suffer any longer.
And you said something very important that actually came upon me the other day, as far as like, there's so many layers to it, the whole bullying and what can we do to stop the pain and to fix this and get, people on board. But then it sat on my heart, and what you just said right now, it was like, I need to get across to these kids too, these ones that are doing this to themselves, that don't. That's what's crossing your mind. Stop right there. You know what I mean? And you do anything else but that. You go, you get some help, you refuse to go to school. That's even better than taking your own life. But you know what I mean? I need to make sure I'm putting on the ways, or when I'm talking, putting solutions, alternatives for them, so they won't go that route, versus just trying to figure out what we can do to stop their pain and to be there and fix this bullying crisis. Let me make sure that I am also contributing and letting that child that could be listening, say, hey, stop, don't, there is other ways. This is only temporary. You just got to say something. Don't stop talking. I tell kids, if somebody doesn't help you, that doesn't mean stop talking. You go home, you tell your parents everything, and then if no one's helping you here. I even said, hey, if your teacher won't pay attention to you, just stand in the doorway. Just keep talking. Every time, eventually, like, don't stop, because in a lot of instances, the kid won't get help and they go home, and they went home just because that one adult didn't give them that attention that, they're trying to get that, tell them what's going on. Instead, they went home, and parents found them, they different ways, hanging themselves. It was just crazy. It's very, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, where did we go wrong?
Yeah, suicide is not the solution.
So not. You can't go back and change. There's so many things that can be changed, but that's one right there. You just can't go back and come back from that. You can't change it. So, but yeah.
Boy, we've been talking, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Well, hey, now we remember the magic. So we know we had some good stuff before, too.
Well, good.
Yes. And I'm loving having you on, and I think I'm loving what you and Scott are doing. And if you ever want to have me on yours, or come on over, or anything, and bring some light, because I work with youth, and I'm always like just really paying attention, really, and then having one myself, it's like scary, so I always try to keep commentary open between me and him and I,
Sure.
So for sure. And thanks for you coming and sharing with me. And I don't know if you wanted to tell the viewers again about what's going on with your show, and if they're interested in your giveaway.
Yeah, I want to make sure your guests know that, your listeners know that you can find my website, my podcast, In a City Like Yours, and Scott H. Silverman's Happy Hour on any popular podcast platform. In a City Like Yours has a website at www.inacitylikeyours.com, so you can also find episodes there. But I just appreciate you giving me the opportunity to toot my own horn.
For sure.
I really have enjoyed it. So you take care.
You too. And I'll definitely talk to you in the future.